All right, peace, lovelies. I'm back. Guess who's back? I'm back. I'm actually recording this on Sunday. So I'm gonna record it right quick. I'm gonna upload it and I'm gonna publish it and I'm gonna look the other way. I hope y'all ain't noticed that it's coming in hot, but it's going to be published on Sunday. So I am keeping my promise to myself, and that's all that is truly important. But yeah, your girl is recording this at the 11th hour. I will say that. And I've been really just sensing into what should I talk about in this particular episode. And so I think what I want to talk about today, I'm sure that what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the importance of we as motherless daughters, or we as daughters who are healing their mommy wound, the importance of us identifying and choosing our what Queen Afua would call our sister mother village. All right. The importance of us going out and finding or attracting people, women, maternal figures who feel like they could be a surrogate mother, or they could in some way pour into us in ways that our mothers just have not been able to do in this lifetime. And so I think I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about that because I can remember being knee deep in my mommy wounds all those years and really just being like this, I don't want anybody else to be my mother. I remember my aunt at the time, at some point, maybe I was in elementary or middle school, and my family was having difficulty. They were having difficulty, with medical stuff and with school related stuff, because I was not legally adopted by my aunt. I just lived with her, but all the legal rights and things were to my parents, who were not there. But my aunt and my aunts and them, they were the ones who were making all the decisions, taking me to appointments, signing me up in schools and things like that. But they didn't have the legal rights. And so I remember there being a conversation, maybe elementary or middle school, regarding adopting me. And of course, they brought the idea to me. And I don't remember all the ins and outs, but I do remember feeling very much I already have a mother. But in no way were they saying, we want to be your mom, or we want to replace your mom. In no way were they saying that. They were saying, we need to be able to make decisions for you easily. We need legal rights. That was it. But all my mommy wound heard was, you try to replace my mother and she's coming back, or she's my mom, you know what I mean? Something like that. And so I remember that being I remember feeling I don't want anybody else to take that role. I don't want anybody to even pretend like they are. I didn't call people, I always tell people, I never was into that, oh, that's like my mom. I was really not into that. I was oh, no, that's my aunt. That's my mentor. That's my friend. You know what I'm saying? That's my older friend. I was very intentional about, my mother is my mother. My father is my father. And any other figures that took on those roles, they were who they were, but they were never another mom or another father. I did not confuse that. I was rigidly clear about that, because it was I was holding space for my actual biological parents to come back into my life. In my mind, I'm thinking, I have parents. They'll be back any minute, even though they've been gone for decades. But it was that kind of energy. And so I say all this to say that, when I was heavy in my mommy wound trauma, with no idea how to get out, by the way, at this point, middle school, high school, there was no light at the end of the tunnel that I could sense. When I was in that space, I kept myself from experiencing maternal love that was available to me, I kept myself from fully embracing it because I was holding space for my biological mom, my biological dad, to come and do those things. So I wouldn't let other people do too much of the maternal stuff for me because in my mind, my parents, they're going to do it. That's who does that. It's almost like I didn't want anybody else. It was almost like I wasn't open to anybody else, and in hindsight, looking back, that the words I was thinking to say is the curse words, so I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. But in hindsight, looking back, me refusing to allow other people to pour into me like a mother would, kept me stuck in my childhood trauma. It kept me stuck in lack of mommy love, lack of maternal mother-daughter energy. It kept me stuck because I refused it. It was available. Other mother figures were there. They were there. They were trying to pour into me, wanting to pour into me. And I took bits and pieces because I'm not about to starve, but the fullness of maternal care I could have received, I was not open to it. And as a result, I rejected what I could have had, what was available to me, because I was clinging to this idea that was that was like a fantasy of what my mommy-daughter relationship could be, and so that seems really important. That seems really important to point out, specifically in this video, because we're born into these families. We're born to these parents who they can only give you what they can give you. They can only give you what they have, and for quite a few of us, our parents didn't have a lot of emotional availability to give us, or they didn't have a lot of healing lessons and advice to give us, healing thoughts, healing perspectives, healing habits. They didn't have a lot of that to give us. For the most part, most of you guys who are drawn to this video, your parents didn't have a lot of love to give you because they were still very much searching for love themselves. They were still very much trying to figure out how to love themselves. And so as a result, they didn't have what you needed as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. They didn't have that guidance, that nurturing, that protection that you needed. And so if you were like me, you still clung to that idea of, well, maybe they'll do it. Or maybe you clung to another idea that I had, which was, well, if my mom and dad are not going to do it, I don't want anybody to do it. Like, fuck it. I don't want anybody to do it. It's that kind of energy. And as a result, I kept myself stuck in lack. I kept myself stuck in not having it, even though other people around me had it in abundance and could have given me the things that I needed, the nurturing, the protection, the guidance. It was available, but I pinched off the abundance of it because I refused to let other people pour into me the way that I believed my mother and my father should have done. I didn't know I was doing this back then. This is me in my third eye, awakened, grown woman state, looking back to see how resistant I was to other women, other maternal energies pouring into me. Okay. And so, of course, when I started the Sacred Woman Womb Healing Journey with Queen Afua, there was a gateway. There was a gateway. And this is one of my favorite gateways, to be quite honest, even though Sacred Words was the gateway I needed to master with all this power in my tongue and words. But Sacred Relationships, this gateway was everything I needed. Everything I needed to heal my sacred relationship with myself and thus heal my sacred relationships with others. Whether those relationships changed or not, I needed to know how to heal around relationships, And so this gateway really helped me to understand the importance of the mother-daughter relationship. And it gave me that permission I needed to open up and accept mothering from people maternal beings who were not my biological mother. Like, this gave me that, like, it's okay to, like, let other people fill those shoes for you. It's not a betrayal to your mother to let other women mother you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this gave me healing around that. And so I'm going to read a little bit, from this book. Yeah, it's long. I mean, some of this is long and it feels not relevant, but it is relevant. I'm going to read it. Because you guys are here, you guys are hanging out. So hang out with me and I'm going to read this. Okay, so let me read. First, I'm going to read this mother to daughter section. So this is from the perspective of a biological mother's responsibility to her biological daughter. Okay, I'm going to read that. It says, mothers, take time to teach your daughters whose wombs have not yet been touched by the world. Show them by your example what is and is not to be. Follow your intuition and your knowledge. Guide them about how to respect their sacred wombs. Anoint and bless your daughter's womb, heart, and mind every new moon or at the onset of her menses. Teach her how to care for her sacred holy womb through the teachings of natural law. Whisper in her ear at night like the old folks did. Tell her your womb is sacred, for you are sacred. Tell your daughter that she is beautiful. Tell her she is like a crystal, a pearl, or another precious gem. Tell her that she is as lovely as roses and orchids. Your beloved daughter is to be appreciated as one of the flowers of Mother Earth. Let your daughter know that she is worthy of all the Creator's love and blessings. Hug her often, kiss her crown, rock her when possible, so she will know you as her foundation, her solid ground. Talk to her and tell her what's in your heart. Listen to her closely. Let nothing be so big or small that she cannot talk to you. Keep her heart sweet by exposing her to the beauty of the world, and so on and so forth. All right. So I read this. I'm reading this during Sacred Relationships. And of course, this is pricking at my heart like, oh, this is all of the things that I did not receive. These are all of the things I didn't know I was missing. Like a person who spoke to me, called me beautiful, and not in a way that like somebody who wants to have like sex with you calls you beautiful. Cause that's like true, I'm beautiful, but like you just saying that to like get what you want. Right. I was missing that, somebody calling you beautiful and wanting nothing from you. And I did not know that was lacking until I read this section. I didn't know that I just needed to be affirmed. I needed to see the beauty of the world, not just the trauma that little girls go through in this world. I needed somebody just to whisper to me, you are sacred. You know what I'm saying? Just to pray over me, to speak life over me in those ways that, only a mother can do for a daughter. I needed that, right? And so reading this section really just like triggered so many feelings of lack that I was feeling during this time going through this gateway. I was just like, oh, these are all the things that I have been lacking, and I didn't even know it. And so now, of course there were tears. Of course there was just, a lot of journaling about all the things that I wish that I had received prior to being 30 years old. And lots of healing began after this wound was triggered, because then I moved on through these feelings. I felt the feels. I moved through these feelings to then figure out a way to reclaim what I felt like I had lost or what I felt like I had been missing from a mommy-daughter relationship. I'm like, oh, I need to be poured into like this, from someone who doesn't need anything from me. Do you know what I'm saying? And so the next section. So then I go to the next section, and it talks about a village of sister mothers. Okay. A village of sister mothers. And in this section, I'm going to paraphrase the beginning a little bit just because it's kind of lengthy and story-like, and I don't really want to read like that kind of reading. But, long story short, there was this female who, had decided to approach 4 of her mother's closest friends, each of whom had a special gift, at least to this female. She was like, oh, I like the way you talk to people. I like the way you master money. I like the way you, your spiritual savviness, etc. She had identified 4 women who were her mother's friends, and she invited them to be a part of her sister mother circle. All right. Which is different than a mother saying, hey, can you be a godparent to my child? This was from a different perspective. This was the child saying, I see something in you that could be very maternal, that could be very healing and healthy for me to have from a maternal child standpoint. Would you be another one of my mothers, like a sister mother? Would you be a part of my sister circle, sister mother circle? This is what this female did. In essence, she identified for herself who she felt would be good to pour into her. She chose her mother figures, and invited them to be a part of her circle. And when I read this section, of course, that initially when I read it, I was too broken to even I wasn't at this place where I was like, yeah, I should just do this. But after going through this healing cycle multiple times, I began to open up to the possibility of attracting mother figures who could still pour into me as sister mothers, because at this point I had elevated to such a high level of womanhood that to have a mother was just like, it was like nonsensical to my mind. But to have maternal energies who I felt had far exceeded me in certain life lessons, in certain stages of their life, to have those elderly women, or those at least wise women, even if they were similar age, pour into me, that made perfect sense. Sister mothers, that made perfect sense, and so this is what I began to open to. And so I'm going to read this little section that I highlighted because obviously it was important to me. The sister mother circle still exists today, even though Luana, which is this girl, even though she was in her late 20s, she was married and she was a new mother. Essentially, what Luana created for herself was an old African tradition of extended family. She created her own village to help raise her, and now she's extending that wisdom to the raising of her own child. There is no reason why we cannot create a sister mother circle for ourselves, no matter how old we may be or whether our mothers are alive or no longer with us. We all need the good mothering we can get. So think about who you might choose for your own godmother circle and invite them in. And also think about suggesting this wisdom to your daughter the next time she criticizes you for your inadequacies, that she might want to create a sister mother circle for herself, etc. And so this is just really, it's so simple, yet it's so profound of an idea, of a tradition to create, because, oh God, I stayed in lack for so many years, not wanting to betray my mother, not wanting to betray the mother-daughter relationship, not wanting to open to receive love and care and nurturing and guidance from other maternal figures, when that was all I needed. That was what I needed, And so this feels really like, it just feels really very much like a solution, quite frankly, a solution to the problem that most of us are having as like motherless daughters. I think a lot of the rub of not having a maternal figure who has mastered their lessons. They have gone ahead of you and figured some things out. The problem with that is that you then need to have to figure everything out, and you just can't. You don't know what you don't know. And so the beauty of having women, whether it's your biological mother or your chosen sister mothers, the beauty of having women who have far exceeded you in their lessons and their lived experience is they have a perspective that you would not even know existed. You don't know what you don't know, and so they can at the very least give you some perspective based on their lived experience, versus you having to figure everything out and you hitting the wall a million times, trial and error, trying to figure everything out in real time, and I know a lot of you guys who are watching this can understand. You're like, there were no footprints. Everything I figured out trial and error, had to touch that fire to know it was hot, versus somebody saying, oh, it's hot over there, don't go over there, go over here. You know what I'm saying? And me avoiding some of those pitfalls. I had to go through every pitfall. And granted, you are strong. You know what I'm saying? You are equipped for life. I know that. However, how much more, how much more pleasant of a trip? How much more quickly could you have gotten there if you didn't have to do all these pit stops? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much further along would you be if you didn't have to fall into every pitfall and then heal yourself and get back to it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so this has been really this whole concept of we motherless daughters choosing our village of sister mothers, that concept has been really resonating with me over the last 3 to 4 years of my healing journey, because now I feel very open. I feel very accepting of the mother-daughter relationship that I was birthed into. I feel very grateful for it. I feel I can sense all the purpose of it. I know exactly why it had to happen the way it happened, and it could happen no other way. And so now I'm at that level of healing where I am open to receiving, where I'm open to attracting mother figures or maternal energy that feels purposeful. It feels purposeful, and it feels like this is what I need. So I'm open to that. And so what I find myself doing is I find myself, establishing new relationships. I'm no longer in that no new friends kind of energy. That's old shit, and that keeps you stuck in lack. And so in order to get that new energy and to get that healing, you have to have new experiences, and you have to exchange with new soulmate partners. So I find myself opening to new relationships and slowly connecting and bonding with new people, and putting myself in positions where I am receptive, not where I'm always the one who is pouring into. I find myself allowing myself to be poured into, allowing myself to be led and guided, but only by those feminines who I feel are living their life in a way that I would like to emulate. I don't accept guidance from everyone. I listen, but I don't digest it and internalize everybody's guidance, because there are some mother figures, some women, some sister friends who are not living their life in a way that is in harmony with my inner truth. And so I don't take advice from men, women, cats, nobody who they're not reflecting the realities that I want to experience in my life. And so there is that. However, I do find myself very open and receptive and submissive to maternal energies that feel like they are my spiritual guide, my spiritual guru. And this could be like, let me just say this. I have maternal mothers who are relatives, blood relatives. I have maternal mothers who are spiritual, like mentors. I have maternal mothers who are, I can't say strangers, non-blood related. And I have maternal mothers who are, I've never met a day in my life, but they have so much content online, and immediately I resonate with their energy. And I'm like, you're my guru. You're my mother. Like, you're my maternal, like that, and so when I say that we are never lacking in mothering, we're never lacking. There are always multiple mommy energies that are wanting to replace or that are wanting to pour into us, that are wanting to supplement. That's what I want to say. Supplement the love that our biological parents maybe could not give us. There are always multiple mothers, or maternal energies and forces ready to fill you up in ways that you deserve, and in ways that your biological parents just couldn't, and so we are never lacking. That's the bing. That was the light bulb. Never lacking, and the only reason that we are lacking is because we refuse to open up and let another being mother into us, pour into us. And that's that refusal to open to additional mothering additional mothers, that refusal, that is where the trauma healing work needs to be done. Because why are you keeping yourself stuck? Why are you keeping yourself stuck in trauma? Why are you keeping yourself stuck in lack by refusing to open to let other people pour into you? That is what we need to do the work. Okay, that is where I had to do the work, you know? And I've seen that lesson translate to so many other lessons, friendships, lovers. Like, why do we cling to these work? Oh my gosh, why do we cling to, like, say it's a job? Let's do jobs, because I can talk about relationships all the time. But let's talk about jobs. Like, we cling to this job. It's not giving us what we need. We're not satisfied. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not. And yet we cling to it. And we keep ourselves stuck in that lack and that not, when we could, not prematurely, but we could make a plan to, like, open and see what else is out there, see what else could be more fulfilling, more satisfying. But we're like, oh, no, I don't want to do, we talk ourselves out of, opening to more. And we defend this why we are staying in this job that we dislike, and this job that is not satisfying us. That is the same dynamic that I'm describing with this mommy wound that I needed to heal. I had this pattern of defending why I was keeping myself staying in lack. And it was keeping me out of the abundance and the love and the nurturing and the parent-child experience that I deserved, So there's that. I learned a lot there over these last 4 to 5 years. And something else I wanted to say too. It was just coming through as I was saying that last part. I'll say this while I'm trying to get that other part to come back to my mind. I do find that, like, I don't need a lot of mommying these days like I felt like I needed before. I don't need it as much because I've just grown and ascended to so many places of just self-mastery that, like, a lot of my guidance that I receive, it comes to me intuitively, spiritually, from, like, my ancestors on the other side, and it comes to me from, some other people too who are my sister mothers, but I honestly don't feel like I require a lot of pouring into like that. However, I think that every woman, when we are going through difficult times, when we are going through really challenging lessons and seasons, I think at that point, regardless of how equipped we are, we need to be poured into. Every woman. Every woman has seasons where, like, she's not the pourer. She needs to be poured into. She needs to be told it's going to be okay. She needs somewhere where she can just go cry. She needs somewhere where she could just go get her hair washed, get rubbed, just get pampered, get taken care of, get spoken into. We need that. And I'm praying that, like, that space becomes more common. I'm praying that as women, we begin to heal in circles of 2 or more, and that we shed that old traumatic way of suffering in silence, going through everything alone, weathering the storm without sister friends or feminine support. I'm praying that we shed that, because that's a trauma response. Most of us had to figure everything out on our own because we quite literally did not have a guide, and we pinched off anybody else helping us. So we had to go through it alone because in essence we chose to. Now some people, they didn't choose to. They was looking for help and people was just being shitty. Okay, solid point. But for the majority of us, there were people who could help us, but we were like, oh, no, I don't like asking for help. I don't like people to know my business, or I don't like people to think that I owe them, or I just don't want, I just don't feel comfortable telling people that, or I don't trust people. We pinched off our own help, most of us. Okay. And so a lot of healing the mommy wound for me is learning who is trustworthy. Okay. Establishing trusting relationships, no longer telling myself, oh, I don't trust this person. No. I now say, oh, I trust trustworthy people. And I trust people to be who they are. So if I know you're not trustworthy, I trust you to be who you are, but I'm learning to identify who is trustworthy, who can hold space for me, who is equipped enough to hold space for me, who can pour into me in the ways that I need it. I'm learning to notice that. And I'm learning to notice who cannot, and unfortunately, my biological parents may not be able to hold certain space for me for certain things, but if I ask them for something and they have it, they're giving it. No questions asked. And what they do have, what they can do for me, they're giving it to me. And that to me feels like that's full. That feels good. That feels good. And I really think that, like, as we are healing our mommy wounds, we have to begin to identify who our village is going to be and what their capacity is to love on us and pour into us. And if for whatever reason your mother or your aunts or your mentors or whatever cannot offer you all of the things that you feel like you need and deserve, give yourself permission to add more people to your village who can pour into you. Because at this point, we're not children anymore. It's not our parents' responsibility to create our village for us and make sure we're all taken care of. That's done. We are now in the reparenting phase of our life, and we are the parents for our inner child now. We need to decide what we need. So if you're like, ooh, I don't know how to manage money, instead of blaming your parents for not figuring out how to manage money and for not leaving you a fortune, go align with a sister mother who has mastered her financial resources and be her mentee. Get into a student mentality. Okay. If you have relationship issues and you're like, oh, instead of, you have relationship issues and you're like, oh, nobody taught me how to be in relationships. I had really negative examples, blah, blah, blah. And you want to badmouth your parents or whomever. Instead of wasting your energy to badmouth your parents for what they did not give you as far as relationship habits and patterns, go align with someone who you resonate with, who can teach you how to establish healthy relationship patterns, how to discontinue unhealthy relationship patterns. This is now our responsibility, y'all. And I hold myself accountable as well. The things that I'm lacking at this point in my healing, I cannot continue to blame my parents. I could initially, but now it's like, okay, now what you gonna do? And that's on me, And so I love it. I love this for me. I love this for us. I love that I feel empowered. I love that I have an abundance of helpers now. I love that I have an abundance of mommy figures now that I can just pull on and receive what I need. I love that for me, because before, like a decade ago, I would have been like, I don't, nobody's here. Nobody's going to help me. I didn't have a good example here. I didn't have good, like, I would just be fussing. All right. I feel like I've said all the things. I wonder what I'm going to name this video. I wonder what I'm going to entitle it. It's 30 minutes. We got to wrap it up. I feel like this video is just about how is it how we have to choose our mothers? And honestly, low key, we chose our initial mother anyway from the heavens. That's an ancient belief that we chose our mother because we knew that she would birth us into exactly the circumstances we needed to be birthed into to open up our life purpose. So in theory, we are always choosing our mothers. And so I wonder what I'm going to name this. Oh no. Y'all got to stay tuned and see what I named it. But we are never lacking. I think that's the biggest lesson for me. I was never lacking. What I was doing was I was refusing to open to what all that was around me that could have been maternal energy. But never lacking. I remember, I'll finish with this. I'm gonna wrap this up with this. I remember being in the church heavy and like reading this scripture, when your mother and father forsake you, the Lord will take you up, or something like that. And I used to be rolling my eyes so hard at that scripture, thinking like, when is the Lord going to take me up? When is the Lord going to look out for me? Like, thy mom and father are forsaking me. Where are they? Like, where's God? I remember that being a consistent thought and issue for me. And so what I'm realizing is that God Goddess absolutely provided alternative mother-father energies in my story, in my life. But because I was looking for it to come from my biological parents, I was blind to all of the mommies and the daddies that were around me that were ready to pour in, And so God absolutely made a way for me to receive the mommy fathering energies I needed. I was just blind to it. Blind, blind, blind. Oh my gosh, y'all. I can laugh about it now, but you talking about angry, like permanent, like wrinkle, like was angry. Like, really? Don't give me this scripture. I'm sitting here lacking. Anyway, yeah. All right. I digress. I'll see you guys in the next video. Feel free to leave me some comments. Let me know what you guys want to hear more about. And I'll see y'all in episode 6. Peace.